By a call of your name by roll call. Charles Davis.
Ralph Taylor.
Bobby Snyder.
Mike Suford.
Ellen? Here. Sister Paula Rose? Here. Okay. Brian? Brian?
Present.
Okay, great.
All present.
Where do I do that? Okay. Okay.
This conference is no longer being recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. There we go.
For prosperity. Awesome. So the next item on the agenda is the minutes for the meeting held on February 8th, 2021. Any discussion about those minutes? Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I
I
move.
so move.
Okay, I'll let Bobby move. I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Do you
Ellen?
want us to do another? Do you want me to do a roll call there?
Aye. Okay, I think we're good.
Okay. So moved. The minutes are accepted. The next item on the agenda is the public hearing. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I moved to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So moved. The public hearing is now open, and I'll send it over to Mary.
Okay, the first part of the public meeting is to talk about unmet needs in the community. If anybody would like to address that, please unmute yourself and make yourself known so we can hear your comments. Okay, we will move to the second part of the public hearing, which is to have presentations by the public service agencies. We'll go in alphabetical order. So the first one, if you don't mind, Charles, I'll just call them up.
I don't
Is
mind at
that
all. Go
okay?
ahead. Absolutely.
The first one would be CASA, and that would be Kelly Meyer. Kelly, if you would like to give us just a short presentation. We got your print, but give us a short couple of sentences about your agency and your need.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can go ahead and put your camera on if you'd like.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Kelly Meyer. I'm the Executive Director for the First Judicial District CASA Association. And our program, our organization has 3 programs under our umbrella. We have a Child Advocacy Center, a Child Exchange and Visitation Center, and our namesake, our CASA program. And we also offer 2 different types of parenting classes. We offer programs that are all specific to providing advocacy to children that have been abused or neglected, and also programs that promote safety and well-being for children. In 2020, despite COVID, we still were able to serve a total of 747 children and adults, and this year we requested $15,000.
Does anybody have any questions for CASA that you'd like to ask after reviewing their applications? What happened there?
I don't know, but it looks pretty cool. I don't have any questions.
I just have a comment to Kelly. Is she still there?
Kelly, are you still?
here.
Okay,
Yeah.
she's there.
I just want to know, hey, how's that program going as of now?
How's it going?
Yeah, how's it going? Is it going pretty well, or?
It's been rough. It has not been an easy year. I think collectively we can all say that it's a challenge to serve families and children that are in dealing with trauma and dealing with abuse, and a worldwide pandemic does not help that situation. And then in addition to that, there's funding issues, and it has not been easy at all. We have definitely seen that we have started to see an increase in the number of children and families that we are needed to serve. We definitely seen a dip in services that we provided in March and April and some of May in last year, but we have seen that number increase significantly when things kind of leveled off and we were able to kind of pivot and adjust for services, and we continue to see that rise. So we're doing our best to prepare for things, but it's not easy right now. It's still not easy, and it's challenging to figure out how to continuously do things differently and make sure that we're keeping everybody safe.
The reason why I asked is because I take my hat off to the CASA program. I really do. You're doing a wonderful job with what you got, so yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of all of our staff and our board, I will say thank you. We are definitely working hard to try to make sure we're keeping families and kids safe and providing the services that we know they need. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Ralph, you're going to have to get closer to your microphone,
Oh,
or
yes,
you're not going to be able to be heard.
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
You just leave your button up, it'll catch
I got
everything.
you.
Yes,
Okay.
okay, so the next agency that we'd like to hear from is Catholic Charities of Northeast Kansas, and that will be Jackie Masner.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Jackie Mason, and I'm the manager for the Family Support Center here in Leavenworth for Catholic Charities of Northeast Kansas. Some of the services that we've been able to do this year were direct financial assistance. We were able to keep our food pantry open and operating. We've recently, within the last few months, brought our clothing closets back online, as well as providing household items to people that are needing those. And we were able to do VITA this year, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. Last calendar year, we were able to serve 4,715 individuals through this office with a pandemic. We're pretty happy about that. And I believe that our request this year was for $7,500.
Okay, anybody on the board that would like to ask questions of Jackie and Catholic Charities?
I don't have any questions.
I have one question, and Jackie, you might want to bring your other staff in on this, but I noticed in the budget that you submitted that you had a negative number at the end, and I'm wondering how Catholic Charities is going to cover that so that we know that you're financially stable through the year, if awarded funds.
Can't hear you.
Jackie?
I'm here, and Danny DeLeon is here to answer that question.
Excellent, thank you.
I think she's muted.
Danny DeLeon will be the next one. That is just a weird little
Is that a
effect that it does.
screensaver kicking in?
I don't know what it is.
I'm unable to hear Danny. I think she's talking, but I'm unable to hear her.
We don't hear her either.
Yeah, we don't hear her either. Danny, can you unmute, please? Okay, we'll come back.
Okay, looks like she's gonna.
We'll come back to her. Okay?
Perfect.
All right. The next person that we'd like to hear from is Miranda Agnew from the Leavenworth Interfaith Community of Hope.
Hello, Mr. Dwyer and board. I'm Miranda Agnew. And I'm hopeful you can hear me. I am the executive director here at the Leavenworth Interfaith Community of Hope. And we are, as many of you know, we connect clients with resources and create a safe place for those at our night and day center. So we do have 3 main programs. We have the night shelter and day center, and we also have Welcome Central. And we also run free transportation out of Welcome Central and many other services. And so I lost my list here. So we served 301 clients, totaling over 100,000 last year out of Welcome Central. And then we also had 160 unique guests at our night shelter. That is an average of about 475 beds per month, and around 5,700 beds in 2020. And I do want to clarify one thing on our budget before we open it up for questions. Our budget was a little bit off. I took over in January, and so we had not accounted for grant spending, only grant income. And so that has been updated, and I'm happy to share that with you if you need me to.
Miranda, I shared with them the budget that you submitted, the new budget, so
Perfect.
It's got that. Okay. Anybody have questions for Miranda?
Yes, Miranda, this is Charles. Kind of curious as to how you're changed from last year to, I don't remember having such a dynamic weather situation like we did just within the last month. Were there changes in your night program and or day program that you weren't prepared for, or were you able to accommodate everybody?
Yeah, we have been able to accommodate everyone. Thankfully, we have gotten some grants that were new to our location. And so what was wonderful about that was we were able to open a second location starting in December, so that everybody that, in essence, wanted a warm, safe place could come during the day. So we have had 2 locations open during the winter to manage that. Operating 24 hours a day is new to our organization, and thankfully Sister Vicky was able to do that before I arrived. That has brought lots of just unique challenges, but we're managing. With that is, the expense of extra utilities and extra overhead costs, which is accounted for in our request.
Well, I think I speak for everybody, echoing everybody, even Ralph's assessment of CASA. Thank you for what you're able to do with what you have from our perspective. So that's all I have.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Danny De Leon is now on. So if we could hear from you, Danny?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
She's with Catholic
Okay,
Charities.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Danny De Leon, and I'm a grants manager with Catholic Charities of Northeast Kansas. Thank you so much for all of your support of our agency and of vulnerable households in the community. In response to the question about our budget, when we do budgets, especially for federal grants, sometimes we do show a slight deficit because we run 24 programs. So sometimes some of our programs end up maybe with a surplus if we receive more funding than we were expecting, and some have slight deficits. And so at the end of the year, when we are looking at all of our budgets as an agency and taking into account any revenue that may have been generated from special events, earned income from our turnstiles thrift stores, as well as our operating reserve, which we try to keep a month and a half worth of expenses in our operating reserve. That's when we're able to kind of fill in the gaps where we may have a deficit in a program. This past year has been different. Our thrift stores were closed for multiple months due to various orders, but they're up and running and generating income. So we are more than confident that we will be able, with our agency funds, to make up any deficits that may happen in our Leavenworth Family Support Center budget.
Okay, that's great. Anybody from the board have additional questions about the funding?
I don't have any questions.
We have no more questions, Danny. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next program we'd like to hear from is the Leavenworth Mission, and that would be Iris Arnold. Iris, we can't hear you.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
There she is.
I'm Iris Arnold with the Leavenworth Mission Food Pantry. We are a food distribution center along with food pantry services every week. We sponsor 3 mobile food distribution sites. We deliver senior food boxes to senior housing complexes downtown. Every week, we distribute 32,000 pounds of farmers to family food boxes, and as of this Thursday, we are starting to distribute boxes to students at Anthony Elementary School. Last year, we serviced 2,463 individuals, and we are requesting $6,000 for utility assistance.
All right. Any board members have questions for the Leavenworth Mission? Any of the board members that are online?
Iris, this is Ellen Bogdan.
I had a question. Just
Said you requested $6,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Sister, did you have a question?
just a question. I was just wondering, how do you get the clients that you serve? Do they come in and ask, or do you distribute information about the community, or especially for the commodities? How do those people know if and when they're coming in? How do you get your clients?
We distribute a calendar. We try to create a calendar every month that they can pick up at the store. But then also social media is dynamic. A lot of the clients rely on that service through social media.
You have a Facebook page, don't you, Iris?
Yes, we do. We have a Facebook page, and then along with several other groups that we're linked to, the word gets out.
Okay.
Iris, I had on your application that you requested $7,000. Is that correct? I think you might have just misspoken.
I must have misspoken because I didn't look at my application before I wrote this up, so my apologies.
Not a problem. It happens. We're all running fast.
Correct.
Any other questions from anyone?
Not a question, but just a thank you from the board and the city for what all you do, Iris.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Iris. The next agency we'd like to hear from is St. Vincent's Clinic. Bess Bonowitz, are you going to do the presentation?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
And we could see you too.
Hear you and see you.
Whew. Great. Well, my name is Bess Bonowitz, and my colleague Terry Evans is also with me today. St. Vincent Clinic, we provide primary care services to low-income adults who live in Leavenworth County. 95% of our patients last year were uninsured. We also provide physical therapy through University of St. Mary, and chiropractic care through the Cleveland University of Kansas City. When I say low-income adults, 2/3 of our patients live below the federal poverty level. Last year, we served about 300 patients across 1,643 UDS visits. What that means is, on average, our patients saw their provider more than 5.5 times per year last year. And they came an additional 3 times or so to get labs or pick up medications. So we see our patients an awful lot. We are requesting $13,000.
Who on the board has any questions for Bess?
I don't have any.
I don't have.
Bess, I have a question, and this may be going to you and Terry. But I noticed that there was a decrease in net assets on your budget, and I was wondering, again, how you're going to address the shortfall?
So I'll take that question, if you will. So I'm the Director of Finance for Caritas Clinics, have been with the clinics for about 3 years and have about 30 years of nonprofit financial management experience. So as an affiliate of SCL Health, which is a very large organization, we have a lot of resources that are available to us in terms of everything from payroll to legal to insurance. And so that is a great resource for us, and they are very supportive of our mission. We do have about $3.7 million in investments in cash as of last year. And so those are what we consider our reserves and can tap into those for deficits as needed during the fiscal year or the calendar year. So we had a very strong year in 2020, both clinics, and a lot of it due to COVID and some very generous donations throughout the year. So we're in a very strong financial position in spite of having to have dealt with COVID like so many other agencies.
Thank you very much for your explanation. I appreciate that. Other questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, thank you very much. And our last presentation will be from the Guidance Center.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Rachel, we can.
Okay, great deal. My name is Rachel Sweet from the Guidance Center. We are Leavenworth Community Mental Health Center. We provide outpatient therapy, medication management, recovery services, case management, psychosocial group for everyone from 2 years old all the way to end of life. We served 2,814 Leavenworth residents last year, and I am requesting $7,095, which is a very specific number, but it just represents 1 month of utilities.
Thank you. Questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes.
This is Sister Paula Rose. I'm wondering if, I know at one time you had a home care program. Has that been phased out?
So going into homes or a health homes program?
Yes.
I just applied for a grant last month to become a community, let's see. I can't remember what CCBHC stands for, but essentially it is a holistic program where we would be able to do a little bit of primary care and take care of our clients in a much more holistic way with having blood pressure tests and very basic medical help for them. And we're not going to hear back from that for a little while, but we're hoping to expand in that way in all 3 counties. So the health homes program did fizzle out. There is kind of a much more meager one that we have right now that's not really going anywhere because none of
pretty much none of our clients can be a part of it. So we're hoping, again, for expansion, but that's just the infant stages.
Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Comments?
Just thank you for all that the Guidance Center is able to do.
You're welcome.
All right. Anything else that the board wants to do before we close the public hearing? Okay,
Here comes the hard part.
go ahead and close the public hearing then,
Do I have
please.
a motion to close the public hearing?
I motion we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Okay.
Feel like we're getting an opposition from,
Oh, Sister Paula Rose, are you and I for closing the public meeting?
I am.
Ellen?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay.
motion carries. The public hearing is now closed. And we'll turn it back over to Mary.
Okay, so the next part that we need to do, I think, is the most challenging part of being on this board, which is trying to determine how you're going to award funds to the agencies. I gave you a spreadsheet that kind of goes over the agencies. You all did scoring of the agencies, and there's an agency ranking that I did by aggregating the numbers. I also gave you the number of people that they served according to what was reported to CDBG last year, and they were all CDBG awardees. Then the number of low moderate income clients, because some of them serve more low moderate income clients than others.
Mary?
Yes.
We still have a number of our guests online. Should they have excused themselves?
They're allowed to be online if they would choose to. It's up to them.
I'm just clarifying it.
Yes, thank you for doing that. Then what I gave each of you is the 2020-2021 funding amount that we funded them for. We had a couple of agencies that did not reapply this year. The Alliance Against Family Violence did not reapply, and Salvation Army chose not to reapply because they felt like there were other agencies that needed more funding and that they were getting, I guess, funding from another source. So that was generous of them, I thought. So we're down the number of agencies, but we're up in the amount of request. And so the overall 21-22 request was $70,095. And the amount of money we have to award is $51,721.
Is that a for sure number, or is that a?
That is a for sure number.
Okay.
That is a for sure number. Right toward the end, I got our actual allocation, so I redid the math.
That's fine, just sometimes it doesn't happen.
Sometimes it doesn't happen. Most years, it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
So then what I did was give you their overall projected budget, the percentage that their CDBG request is of their budget, and then 3 scenarios for possible awards. You do not have to use any of these scenarios that I have projected. I was just trying to give you some food for thought. The first one is just using a straight percentage of what they requested to make it balance to 51,721. So I just took a percent, I tried to make it all work by percentage. The second one is a straight percentage increase from last year. So looking at what their last year budget was and just doing a percentage increase over that. And the third one uses a weighted award based on how they ranked as an agency based on performance that you all did. And so with that explanation, I guess I would open it up to the board to discuss using any of these particular ones that you like better, or coming up with some hybrid past that to be able to meet.
Do you have an extra copy? I apologize. Oh, I got one right here.
Okay.
Photographic memory.
Okay. So, can I hear from any of the board members about what they thought about those three projections, please?
I'll speak. I like projection.
This is Brian Keeley.
Yes, Brian.
I was just curious what has been done in the past.
In the past, we have primarily used a straight percentage increase from the previous year.
Okay.
So every year I try to present some other kinds of options in case the board wants to look at something else. Because in this particular year, we have lost a couple of people, which makes the amount of money different. Plus, some of the agencies have asked for significantly more than they had asked for previously, and that kind of skews things as well. So, does that answer your question, Brian?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to.
I said yes, thank you.
Okay, thank
Picking
you.
up my voice. Yeah.
We got it.
I'd like to speak on this. I like option number 2, small changes to the plan. In the rate, the numbers you came up there with on option 2.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay.
And that was the straight percentage.
Straight percentage increase from last year.
I felt we had a really good discussion about it last year, and for those that weren't, it literally speaks to, yes, we know that there's a need, but we want to be fair about how we distribute the money, and we can't, and that's what our thought was last year, that this seems to be the fairest way to do it. Even though the scores, I mean, nobody was a low, but we have to come up with a fair way to do it, and I'm all for that second way of doing it as well. So,
Bobby, what are you thinking?
I'm sorry, I'll wait.
No, go ahead, Ellen.
Yeah, I just have, sometimes when we're online, we have difficulty hearing the conversation. Was the last conversation going with the second straight percentage increase from last year?
yes, yeah, Ellen, I said,
Okay.
that's what I was
Yeah,
talking
I just have
about.
a question because I'm not a mathematician, but I'm just curious as I look at what was requested by these agencies and defended in their applications. Am I wrong that so many would get so much more money than they requested and others wouldn't? I'm just...
Well, yeah.
And that's what I don't know if that is such an ideal
Well, and
decision.
that's why I'm putting it out there,
Yeah, no, I'm not against what you're saying. I'm just saying it's something to consider.
Well, and the one that's getting award more than they requested would be the Leavenworth mission. And that's because they didn't increase the amount that they requested. They actually decreased it by $500. So if you do a straight percentage increase, it actually awards them more money than they had requested. Now, we could change that down to $7,000 and give the additional money somewhere else if you would choose to do so. That's up to discussion. I think it would be worthwhile, personally, but I'm not voting.
Right, yeah, no, I understand. I'm just curious, you know.
But that's the only one that actually is getting more than they requested.
Right, and then somebody else is getting less than they requested because of the numbers game last year, okay.
I'm curious as to the large disparity in the request. It looks like the Interfaith Community of Hope.
I think that that would have been a good question to have asked them. But I do believe that in the change of direction with leadership, the previous leadership did not request a lot of funds.
Okay.
The current leadership is trying to make the program more balanced between funds and donations.
Gotcha, understand.
As I understand it. Speaking for an agency isn't really what I'm supposed to do, but
I know that and I kind of had the same questions about the amounts. I know that the Community of Hope had online, and I don't know if that was public access, but all the needs that they had, and it was way, the budget was quite high, and it included a lot of equipment and replacing computers and getting different kinds of office type equipment to run the business. And so I had a question about, the amount that they were at. That shocked me right off the front end with the 20,000. And so I think I would do, like Ellen kind of suggested, is to award the mission, the amount that they requested, which I'm sure they would be happy for, and then give the Community of Hope just a smidgen bit more in the second option.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, yeah.
That makes perfect sense to me. I don't
would you like to make a motion, Ellen?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the Leavenworth mission to receive the amount that they requested, $7,000, and give the remaining, I guess it would be $2,019 to the Interfaith Community of Hope.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
I would second that.
Okay. Let's do a roll call vote, just to make sure that we get everybody included.
Charles Davis, aye.
Mike Seufert, nay.
Bobby Snyder, aye.
Ralph Taylor, aye.
Sister Paula Rose, aye.
Ellen Bogdan, aye.
Brian Keeley, aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. So, then we also have to vote on accepting that full budget. So we're gonna go through it one more time, because we should have probably made that all in one motion, but that's okay. Charles, could you, could someone make a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to make, basically, it's amendment we just voted on,
Yes,
and approve the financing with the amendment.
okay. A motion's been made to accept the budget number 2 with the amendment. Second,
I second the motion. Ralph Taylor.
Ralph Taylor seconded.
Do we have a discussion?
Do we have any discussion? Okay,
No discussion, so I'll call for a roll. All those in favor, say aye. Charles Davis, aye.
Ralph
Bobby Snyder, aye.
Ralph Taylor, aye.
Mike Suford, aye.
Sister Paula Rose, aye.
Ellen Bogdan, aye.
Brian Keeley, aye.
So the motion carries.
okay, the motion carries. I will use that budget when I revise the annual action plan. The next piece I think I need, and I may have done those out of order.
That's fine.
Is to talk about the annual action plan. If anybody has any suggestions, comments about the annual action plan. I will say that I changed the annual action plan to more accurately reflect, I think, how we spend our money. The way that it used to happen is that we would put money aside for home repair and not spend the full amount, and that would start to build up over time, and then we would need to do a public infrastructure project to use that money to be in compliance with the federal government about how much money we have unspent. And that happened for the last 15 years, that's happened every 5 years. So my thought was that we would just start setting aside money for public infrastructure each year, because that's really where we're going to be spending it. So this year in the budget, I set aside $30,000 for public infrastructure. The plan currently, if you accept it, is to work with Public Works to replace some of the private sewer lines like we're doing this year for those low-income people, low-moderate income people who are on private lines that are going to be quite expensive to replace. I mean, like this last one was $100,000. And to divide that by the 8 households that are there is almost a third of what the cost of their house is. So some of those private sewer lines can be quite expensive, and not fixing them gets the city kind of in trouble with the EPA because sewage leaks, and then they have to file with the EPA and they have to do some kind of a remediation. So I just wanted to let you know that that is a change to the budget from last year. Otherwise, all the categories are the same, but just the funding has, the numbers have changed a little bit. Comments or questions? Okay, it doesn't sound like we have any. I will go ahead and amend the annual action plan.
Motion. Do you need a motion on that?
I don't think I do.
Okay.
Need a motion.
I thought that covered that.
Okay, well,
Yeah. Because what I do is I generally
That's fine.
design design the,
Sometimes we need motion, sometimes I'm
yeah,
not sure.
sometimes we need motion, sometimes we don't. I'll design the annual action plan.
Okay.
You'll make a motion the next time to accept or change that plan. So I'll bring it forth to you again. I'll send you another copy, 38 pages worth. And I'll also alert you to where there might be changes. But at our next meeting, we'll discuss that. Okay?
Are there a lot of private sewer lines?
Leavenworth is an old city, and so there are these funny little private sewer lines throughout Leavenworth, and they're not even all in just one section. Like I've found some in other sections, but I would say the majority are in the northeast section of town, but not all of them. I mean, some of them are west of that. So
Is there some reason that the city has not just
taken
incorporated it?
ownership of them? I can't answer that. That would be a public works question. I didn't ask that question. I just thought that we could step forward and rectify those year by year, you know, a piece at a time, with the most egregious ones being addressed first.
Being in underground construction and not having worked here in Leavenworth, but in other areas, they'll put something in one day and 10, 20 years later decide we want to move something, and I've drilled through a couple sewers.
Yeah.
Oh, I've paid for a sewer line.
Paying
Trust me,
for,
I know, it was $9,000 just to
Yeah.
have a private company go down and fix things because.
and
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
that's just a
Not
private,
seeing a $25,000
that's just the
hole.
connecting part of the sewer line. This, what I'm talking about is the major trunk that goes down to the main.
The main line.
And that's,
Wow.
that's owned privately, so,
Unbelievable.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think we have any other business. If anybody else doesn't have any comments, we can go ahead and cancel or close the meeting.
Do we need to close it officially?
Yes, we do.
All right. Do I have a motion to close the meeting of the Community Development Advisory Board?
I so move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Charles Davis, aye.
Bobby Snyder, aye.
Ralph Taylor, aye.
Mike Suford, aye.
Sister Paula Rose, aye.
Ellen Bogdan, aye.
Brian Keeley, aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It was good
Thank
seeing
you,
you.
Mary. You're doing a great job.
It's good seeing everybody.